Okay, the first question I want you to look at is a recap of some of the stuff you did last week. So here's the question. So you got scores of 8 randomly chosen students in a science class. Calculate the mean score, pause the video, have a go. This should take you maybe 10 seconds to do, and you can use a calculator. Okay, so going through the work, what you should have done is added them all up together, and you would have got 521. And then you have 521 divided by the number of values. So I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it tells you that there are 8. So you're going to divide it by 8. And then you get your answer of 65.125. Okay, so what we're going to look at today is different further ways to analyze data sets. So we can describe a data set using the mean, for example, and we can work out the median, and we can work out the mode. So you've done that. So those things are called measures of central tendency because they typically measure how the data kind of is centralized at a certain point. So in the median, it's literally the middle. And when you look at the mean, it's roughly in the middle, generally speaking. So copy that into your books, and then also copy this into books. So central tendency is just a fancy way of saying their averages. Now you might also be interested in how spread out the data is. And for that, we have something called the range. And the range is not an average, it measures how spread out the data is. So if you copy the 2 boxes, pause the video if you have to, and then I'm going to keep going with this. Okay, so just to give you an example of the range, I've got 3 randomly chosen names, Nina, Vanessa, and Milena. And what they've done, they've each done 5 tests. So you can see their results there. And what I want you to do is now pause the video and then work out the mean for each of the 3 girls. Okay, so you should have the means for all the 3 girls, and what you should have realized is actually the mean turns out to be 60 for Nina, 60 for Vanessa, and 60 for Milena. So in this case, we can see that the mean is the same for all the girls. So we might decide to look at the spread, and that means we're looking at the range of values. So for Nina, the greatest score that Nina had from this list I can see is 75, which is very good. She must be very smart. She's got a very high mark. And the smallest score she got was 45, which actually was also the lowest score on this of all the students as well. So maybe it was just a bad day. That means that the range is 75 minus 45, which is 30. And then we can do the same for the other 2 girls. So pause the video and work out the range for Vanessa and Milena as well. Okay, so Milena was very easy to work out because her score doesn't change, 60 for all of them, so the range is going to be 0. But going back to Vanessa, you can see the highest score is 68 and the lowest score is 52. So she's continuously improving. Well done, Vanessa. And her range is 16. So you can actually see that we can describe data not just using mean, median, and mode, but actually the range might be important as well. So the way we might describe this data is we can see that Nina has the greatest range, so she's inconsistent. Milena has the least range, so she's very consistent. It doesn't necessarily mean she's the best person on this data set. There's no real right answer to that, but it means that you can pretty much predict how she's going to do. And another way to say this is that Milena has the smallest amount of variation in her results because her results don't vary very much. So that's the kind of introduction of range and how range links up with when we're looking at data sets. Copy this into your book. So this is a really simple formula that you need. You could argue is not even particularly tricky to learn this. It's just the largest value, take away the smallest value. Now, more importantly, you need to be able to describe what the range means. So what we're saying is a smaller range means that the data is closer together, and also means the data is has less variation. Okay, so I put the formula on the top here. We're going to look at another example. So I list the mass of the eggs that my chickens produce. So here's the list. What I want you to do is two things. Work out the mean and the range of this data. And then after you've done that, I'm going to show you the answer. So pause the video here. So when you work out the mean, it's just going to be, you add them all up, you get 69, you divide it by 6, and that gives you 11.5 grams. And for the range, you can see the biggest egg was 17 grams, and the smallest one was 6. So you do 17 minus 6, and that is going to give you 11 grams. Okay, so now I want you to do one more question. Pause the video and work out the mean and the range. Okay, so for this question, you should have added them all up, and you can see you get 8.71, and I rounded it because the decimal goes on quite a bit. And then for the range, it's just going to be the biggest number take away the smallest, so 18 take away 4. That's wrong. It should be 18 take away 3, in fact. So 18 take away 3. So that means that the range is going to be 15. Okay, so here is a slightly different question because you're also working out the median. So going back to previous lesson, can you work out the mean, median, and range for this, all three? Show you're working out in your books as well, and make sure that's part of what you're going to upload. Okay, so I'm going to go through this with you, and you can see that the mean, you just add them all up and divide by, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get £46,000. Now you have to remember to put the pound sign here because we are looking at money. And then the median, well, this list is already in order, luckily. Although it's going down the page, we can see that the median is going to be £40,000. So it's going to be the fourth value. And that should be pounds as well. And then the range is just the biggest take away the smallest. So that's nice and easy. 120,000 take away 15,000. And that's going to give you £105,000. So it's quite a big range here. It's one of the reasons why range might be important. Because you can see in this company, there's one person that gets paid a lot more than the others. And you can have a debate whether that's fair, whether that's not fair, or depending on the on other data sets. So we're going to do two problem-solving questions. So this is question 1, and I've got the price of 5 lunchtime meals that are on offer. So you got £10, £8, X pounds, £20, and £12. You've been told that the range of these, if the range of these prices is £12, find the possible value of X. So have a go with this problem-solving question, and then I'm going to go through it with you. Okay, so what you may have maybe figured out is maybe if you ignore the X, you can then just work out the range of the current prices that are given. And you know the highest price is 20, the lowest price is 8. So when you work out the range, you get 20 minus 8, which is 12. So actually the range is actually the same as what's given in the question. So x, therefore, has to be any number between 8 and 20, because if it was bigger than 20, the range would not be 12 anymore, or if it was less than 8, then it would also not be 12 anymore. For example, if the price x was 21, then the new range would be 21 take away 8, which would not give you 12. Now it says inclusive. That means that you can also have the numbers 8 and 20 included. So x could be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 20, but nothing outside of those numbers. Okay, so now I'm going to do a slightly harder question. You have the same prices as before, except the x has been reset. It might be different in this case. And the range this time is 13, not 12. Find the possible values of x. So this is a really nice puzzle question that should take you maybe 2 minutes to do. So pause the video and then I'll go through it with you. Okay, so I'm going to go through it. So you should have an answer of your attempt here, because these are the type of questions that are on the worksheet. So if you can now check it, I'll check it with you. So the difference between the largest and smallest price is, as we look at what we did before, we can see the prices given are on here. So 20 take away 8 gives you 12. However, that doesn't match the range that we're given. The new range is 13. So that means x will have to be either bigger or smaller than the largest or smallest number on the data provided. Now we know the formula, the range is the largest value take away the smallest value. So x could be either the largest value or the smallest value in this new data set, in this new question. So if x was the smallest value, I can now put these numbers into the method here. So I can see that the range has to be 13 because that's given to us. Now let's decide that x is the smallest value. So that means the largest value stays at 20. And then we're going to take away the smallest value. Now the smallest value we don't know, that's just going to be x. Now we can actually solve this and we can do plus x plus x. So then I get 13 plus x equals 20. And then I can take away 13, and then I get x is equal to 7. Now, some of you may have been able to do that in a much quicker method. You don't have to do as much working out as I've shown you here. But if you weren't sure, you can just do this method. Now, so x could be 7, because then that would mean, looking back at the original question, if the highest price was 20 and the lowest price was 7, then the range becomes 13. Now, if x, for example, was the largest number, well, it would have to be a number bigger than 20. So one way to do it is go back to the formula here. So range is equal to the largest value take with the smallest value. So the largest value in this case is x. We're going to work it out. The smallest value stays at 8 and the range stays at 13. So now we can solve this. I can add 8. So then I can do 13 plus 8 and I get 21. So x can be 21. So that means that x could be either 7 or 21. So there's two possibilities, and that would make the range 13. Okay, so there is a question on the worksheet to do with a popcorn company, or two popcorn companies with great names, which I have come up with. You are going to be doing questions on this. So your independent work This is on the worksheet, so you don't have to watch, you don't have to pause the video here. You can, once you finish this video, you can do it. There are questions such as working out the mean, working out the range, and then there is an open question, number 3, is I would like to invest in one of these companies. Which one would you recommend? Write a paragraph. So for question 3 on the worksheet, you're going to be expected to come up with at least 3 points. There is there's not necessarily a right answer for this, but you have to defend your points for this. So you might decide you want the company that has the least variation. You might decide you want a company that takes a bit of a risk, or maybe you want one with the highest mean, or whatever you want to do. So as long as you defend your reasons, that is okay. So 3 reasons for that. Okay, make sure you hit that like button, smash that like button even, hit subscribe, do the worksheet, all of the questions. Some of the questions have open answers, which means that you will get different answers to your friends, but they might still be correct. Hopefully they're all correct. And I will see you for some fabulous content next time. Bye, Z's.